Hey everybody, welcome to Two Comic Book Dudes. I'm Aaron, editor-in-chief of Comic Booked,
Hey everybody, Justin, managing editor of a comic book.
and tonight we have a very special guest, Bruce Zick, creator of the Zone Continuum, um, a we'll say newly released book, but actually not really newly released book coming out from Dark Horse. So Bruce, welcome. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us tonight.
Thanks for having me, and I look forward to talking to you about being in the zone.
All right. So we've both had a chance to read through it. It's definitely I kind of felt like it's steampunky, sci-fi. It's got a lot of environmental flavor to it. A lot of eco kind of stuff. That's definitely very prevalent in books that I've read recently. But this series actually came out in its original format back in the '90s, right?
Yeah, '92 it premiered and followed a story arc for 4 books over the course of 2 years, and it was a labor of love, but I had to sort of move on to work in animation on some film projects, and then other comic book projects came along, and it just took 24 years to get back to the Zone Continuum. It's hard to
Uh,
believe.
that is. So I know a lot of the stuff that you've worked on, the different animation projects, they're definitely things that people have heard about. I remember Wall-E was in the list. A lot of Disney movies that you were part of.
Yes, you are you are correct. Yeah, I was in Los Angeles for about 12 years and worked with a lot of the film studios as a concept artist, background designer, and then I moved to Portland where I've been for the last 20 some years. And I just go back and forth between animation and comic books. The comic books give me the pleasure of my work being seen, and I get to write my stories or work on other people's stories. But animation is very high paying, which is hard to resist. But nobody really sees your work, so it's frustrating in that sense that you finish a project and then the artwork is just sequestered away in some vast archive network somewhere, like at the end of the first Indiana Jones. It just goes into the vault and warehouse. It's never seen. So then I look forward to getting back into comic books where I can have people get to see my artwork. So it's a back and forth kind of relationship.
That's cool. I mean, it's a very key part to the creation of a film. But yeah, you're right. It's one of those things that very few people see. That's interesting. Yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about the Zone Continuum. You want to tell us the story of the evolution of this project and how we've come to the product we have today.
Well, I worked on a lot of film projects that took place on top of New York City buildings, and I fell in love with the rooftop architecture, and I kept thinking, this is a world that you don't normally see from your everyday life on the street, and it's a whole different jungle of shapes and forms of water towers and venting pipes and air conditioning ductwork, and it's just a kind of an eerie architecture. So it was always in the back of my mind to try to do a story there. And then I saw a picture one day of a guy jumping through the air in some very Japanesey looking trench coat, and I thought, there's a great idea for a character costume. And then I started mixing and matching things, and slowly the story of the Zone Continuum just grew from those two sources of inspiration.
So I brought up the first image there, so it's pretty much just what you described. One of the first shots we see when flipping through the new book. So it's very cool.
Yeah.
I think my inspiration has changed a lot from when I first did the series. I probably was a little bit more under a Kirby Steranko kind of influence, and then more recently, I sort of switched over to Sin City and Hellboy influence, and I've tried to go a lot more simple and graphic, and doing a little bit of less is more kind of thinking in my design work, and I think this sort of reflects that less is more approach. Although it's still kind of busy, but it relies on silhouette a lot, which I really love.
Yeah, it's very cool. I love this scene because you're definitely down here looking up at this guy and he's falling. And you're going, what did he do? Did he just jump off of a building? and he did. But yeah, the story around him is very interesting, and I just love the way the city points up to him as he's falling down. It's really a cool image.
Yeah, he's actually riding the waves of the continuum, which is an interesting way of getting about the town. When you're trapped above the 15th floor, as all these characters are, they can't ever go down to the ground, so they have to travel from building to building by wearing these special zone suits that are like hang gliding outfits that ride the waves of the continuum that has a lot of loft and wind to it. So they catch a good wave, they float from building to building, and if there's no good waves, then they can't go anywhere.
That's very cool. So this character is our main character for the story, right?
His name is Talon.
Okay.
And he lives in a water tower with his diminutive assistant, who just happens to be a djinn, spelled D-J-I-N-N, or he's also a genie of some sort, and is a mythological character, and he helps run the operation in the water tower that's called Rock's Nest, R-O-C, as in the Arabian mythology, the giant bird. So Talon wants humanity to survive, even though humanity's interference by pollution and radiation, microwave bombardment is slowly destroying and mutating the zones that all these characters live in. And his opponent wants to destroy humanity so that not only the zone continuum will be restored, but also Earth's environment will be restored. So they each feel they have noble intentions, but Talon has a debt to humanity that you will see when you read this book and kind of understand his motivation a little bit.
It's very cool. So and that was one things with this scene. I felt like he was kind of the protector of humankind, and in this story, he stands for humanity.
He just finds out that because of more radiation and pollution, it's causing Zone 27, where they live, to shrink again, and it keeps rising higher and higher in the city. And now, they've gone up to maybe they could live above the 14th floor, but now they have to live above the 15th floor, 150 feet off the ground. So the space that they must exist in is slowly lifting higher and higher, and eventually, over time, they're worried that there won't be a building tall enough in all of New York City and Zone 27 where they can still live. And then where are they going to live? They're going to have to live in the clouds in a certain way. So here he just finds out Zone 27 is shrinking again, and he's very, very depressed, as we all would be.
Yeah, that's cool. And the last scene that I grabbed from the book, I really like this, and this shows off the character of Jin as well. But that you were talking about your Kirby-esque influences, and that was one of the first things I thought when I saw some of this art.
Oh, cool.
Just,
his name is Branus. He's the assistant. And I borrowed this vehicle from another Dark Horse series I did years ago called Terminal Point. It was a 3-book run back in the later 90s. And I like sort of mixing and borrowing from my other stories to bring them all in some sort of overlapping larger universe. This is a three-wheeler from the Terminal Point, which is on loan to our main characters in the Zone Continuum.
Very cool. At least you don't have to ask for permission, right?
I've signed a release that lets everything in or cross, so
That's
it's
cool.
all permissible.
Very nice. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and throw this out. So if our viewers out there would like to hunt down this book, you can check out Facebook. Just look for the Zone Continuum, and then you can also find Bruce on Twitter at Bruce Zick. We'll also have some other contact information for you in the description here of this video, and then some more information in our article that this video will sit in.
Well, it sounds like a cliche, but I really do love hearing from people, and hearing criticism. If you have complaints, I want to hear about it. I learn from getting good commentary, and otherwise you're just in a bubble, doing things by yourself, and you don't know what the heck you're doing sometimes. So, somebody who wants to shout at me about something, contact me and tell me what you think.
Awesome. And that's good to say, because I know, sometimes you feel like creators just are kind of like, I'm just doing my thing and I'm putting it out there, and you're going to read it because I'm me, and don't criticize me. So it's good to hear that you like to hear, and not just criticism, but hopefully you hear good things too. So
good things. Don't misunderstand me, but I like hearing constructive criticism too.
That's good. So, we really I liked the book. I thought it was very, very cool. I'm definitely going to find it. Now, what's the release date on that?
Wednesday, just yesterday it came out.
Okay.
And on March 8th it will come out in the brick and mortar stores, but right now it's out in the comic book shops.
Cool. All right. I'll have to check that out. I'm not sure if I remember seeing a copy in my local shop, so I'll have to ask them.
Yeah. I'll probably run back this weekend and take a look.
Well, tell them to order more.
Well. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your background, Bruce, and kind of the one question we asked all of our victims, all of our interviewees, is what was the first comic that you read? What was the comic that you really, when you read it, you thought, I want to do this?
Well, I just loved comics right from the get-go when I was 5 or 6 years old. I think my dad, for some reason, brought comics home, whatever they were, Superman, Batman, Little Lulu, Casper the Friendly Ghost, just whatever was in the stand, he would bring them home as a treat for us. And I just loved the superheroes. And so at a very young age, I just sat at my little table, and I tried to copy Superman in the Wayne Boring era of Superman, or the Bob. I just love that much more graphic kind of simple way of doing comics back then, and it just spoke to me.
Very cool. So
I think when the Marvel explosion really happened, when the first Fantastic Fours and Spider-Mans were coming out, I think that's probably when I felt like, okay, this might be what I really want to do.
Nice.
And it took me a long time to get there, but I think that just percolated the idea that I would like to be in the comic book business.
Awesome. So do you have anything else on tap with the Zone Continuum coming out next week? What's up next for Bruce Zick in the world of comics?
Working on another series for Dark Horse that is either going to be in Dark Horse Presents later in this year or early next year, or it might end up becoming a graphic novel. It's too early to say, but it's a project I'm really excited about. I think it's got a great hook to it, and
Okay.
All I want to say about it right now is that it takes place underwater in the prehistoric age.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. Okay. That sounds pretty cool.
And then I'm doing a new Mandala series, which was a Dark Horse graphic novel that came out 2 years ago. and there's going to be more adventures in the Mandala storyline that will also be in Dark Horse Presents. And then I'm waiting to get a new script from Mike Richardson from Dark Horse Comics to do some more Atomic Legion storylines.
Oh, cool. Okay, very cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
So we'll keep an eye out for that then. Anything else you want to talk about in relation to the Zone Continuum or comics or anything?
Well, yeah, I think it's really. Oh, my daughter is just coming in to say hello. It's really exciting for me to, after 24 years, see this make it back. It took a long time. I had a failed Kickstarter. Come here. I had a failed Kickstarter attempt a couple years ago to get financing to bring back the Zone Continuum, and so that didn't happen the way that I thought it would. But then I ended up getting financing somewhere else for it, so I went to Dark Horse and said, if I do this, will you publish it? And they said, yeah, for sure. So it's very emotional for me to finally be at the point where the book is out again. When it first came out, it didn't sell huge amounts, but it did pretty well, and it had a very loyal following. And I think historically they call it a cult classic now. But people would write these letters to me and go on and on about the storylines, and I ended up forming a club called the Fotzers, which is an acronym for Friends of the Zone, FOTZ. And I did monthly mailings and newsletters and had buttons and bumper stickers and things, and it was because of that interaction I felt like it was a valid story idea back then, and really needed to be told to a new generation and bring in the old generation, sort of reboot it, sort of retell the origin story of it again. But then it launches in all new storyline directions. So for a new reader, they get introduced entirely to the concept, but for old readers, they sort of see a little bit of some familiar material, but then they get to see where it's going now. And I felt like originally I let it go in the wrong direction and missed what was important to the idea of the story. So now, hopefully, I've launched it in a better direction to where it should be, and I'm waiting to find out if people think I did that or not. So, according to you guys, I did. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely liked it. And do you expect to do more with the Zone now that you've got this book's out there? I mean, and that's Go ahead. Sorry.
I hope. I mean, it depends on the sales, honestly. If the book does well, we'll just jump immediately into more stories, maybe even getting back into the monthly format, which I do love. It's a tougher format to be successful in financially because the book market is so flooded with monthlies. But then there's also some movement in trying to get a TV deal or a movie deal going.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I could totally see that with this story. That would work so well. Yeah.
So I'm hoping one way or another I'll get back to the series as quickly as possible to tell new stories. I kind of painted myself into a corner with the end of this book with some loose threads that I haven't figured out how to resolve yet, and bring them into new stories. But that's the way it always goes. You worry about it. When you get back to it, you figure it out where to go next.
Right.
That's cool. All right, Justin, did you have any questions?
No, I'm just excited for it. I hope the sales are crazy. I mean, we're going to share this thing out and hopefully find you some more new fans like you've made here.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's exciting to get your opinion about it, and I've been calling bookstores, and I'm doing everything I can to promote the book, just to to be very proactive about it because it is a tough market. There's just every month so much comes out, and so I'm relying on word of mouth to help make this happen.
Cool. Well, that's one thing we've talked about in other shows is the fact that the market now compared to what it was in the 90s, it's so different. Even though it's bigger, I really feel like the market's bigger than what it was in the 90s. There's so many more avenues to get the books out there than there were then. Then if you had a book like this, you had to go to a comic shop. Now you've got online sales, you've got all these different avenues for people to access it. And that,
Yeah, I think for Dark Horse, what's really become bigger for them is the brick and mortar book sales.
Sure.
Trades.
And they've seen those sales jump quite a bit, and so that's something that didn't really exist long ago. And so, like you say, there are several ways now to get the story out, and even to the casual browser who doesn't know anything about the Zone Continuum, I just hope they can look at it and go, "Hey, I got to check this out. What is this?"
Yeah.
Cover can be the most important part of the whole project, just to get somebody to want to pick it up, or even the spine. You've got to vertically. Oh, what's that Zone Continuum thing? I got to take a look at this book.
Yep. Well, hopefully we'll get the word out there, and we'll draw some more fans, and get it so we see a lot more of the Zone Continuum.
Well, you're already a big help.
Great. All right. Well, Bruce, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and share about the Zone Continuum and about your career. We hope that this helps, and definitely we'll keep in touch with you. And if a new project comes along, we'll get you back on here for another interview.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being on your show.
Cool. All right. For everybody out there, we appreciate you watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Definitely go check out the Zone Continuum. It really is an awesome book. We want to support this as much as we can. If you've got questions or anything for Bruce or for us, leave them in the comments. We appreciate that too. That helps to generate interest in the video. And check out our website, comicbook.com, and our YouTube channel as well, Comic Booked. So, okay, that's it for the show tonight. We really appreciate everybody watching, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah.